Hello and welcome to GPTV on the second day of winter. That's the 2nd of June 2020. My name's Philip Kingston.
I'm Gary Peer.
And Gary, we all make a bit of a kerfuffle about winter. It doesn't really last that long in this country. Couple of months, big deal.
June doesn't feel as wintry as it used to, but gee, July and August become cold months.
Well, they are predicting a very wet winter this year, a very wet and cold winter.
It's good for the gardens, Phil.
Well, I suppose as the world re-emerges from COVID, it doesn't really matter if it doesn't get beautiful weather straight away, because we're all just like little bears. We're coming out of our cave, and we're tentatively having a look around,
just poking our heads
through the cracks. So 2nd of June, Gary, viewers, what's been going on in the marketplace is the question I'm getting from everybody, and I am thrilled to say that last weekend really did show that buyers and sellers respond to activity, they respond to open for inspections, they respond to auctions, and we had 12 auctions on the weekend and we sold 10 out of 12 for an 81% clearance rate. Viewers, it's game back on.
It really is game back on, isn't it, Phil? And the auction I did on Saturday, I've just got to jump in here and talk about, because it's Power Street Toorak, the apartment.
Power Street Toorak.
Yeah, I had
imagine
the power.
Imagine living in Power Street Toorak.
Yeah,
like,
exactly right.
You just living in Toorak means you've got the power.
Yeah. Imagine getting pulled up by a policeman, speeding and trying to get out of the fine, and then he says, "Can you just tell me your address?" Power Street Toorak. I don't think you're going to get out of this fine, madam or mister.
No.
But Power Street Toorak, Philip, a very nice apartment, modest but lovely apartment, sold very well with 7 bidders. Now, if you're seeing 7 bidders for apartments, Phil, what is that saying about the market? Because we could only have 10, and it was kind of a bit of a challenge just to make sure the numbers are okay, because Dan the man, he wasn't messing around with us. Mind you, he's increased the number, Phil. We're 20 now.
Yes,
yeah.
Well, I think there were a number of auctions held around Melbourne where the regulations were impinged.
Don't say that, Philip. Don't create controversy. We don't need any.
Just
keep the peace.
There's a lot of agents removing a lot of footage from social media as we speak.
And in Blackburn, I think it was reported, there was an agent that said to people, "Look, you just out." Right? There was like, all of a sudden we've become like
we become the auction police.
Door people, where all of a sudden standing saying, "Excuse me, you got your registration?" Yep, you can go. No, you can wait outside there. It's not what we like doing, is it, Phil? Because
it's not, Gary.
They're all inclusive. Auctions are all inclusive. We invite people, we welcome people.
Just get to the facts of what's going on in the market. Viewers, here's an interesting story. We had an auction in Tranmere Avenue, Carnegie, on the weekend of a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment in a building that was built in the 1970s, which had not had any money spent on the property, either on the inside or the outside. We tried to market it literally 5 weeks ago, Gary, around the 400 mark. Yep. We had absolutely no uptake whatsoever.
Nothing.
The buyers weren't really even inquiring online. There was just no activity 5 weeks ago. So we rescheduled an auction, viewers, to Saturday just gone past, 31st of May. Anybody would think the real estate boom had come to Carnegie because around 70 people arrived at the auction wanting to have a look through the property. Obviously, there was a very orderly line of letting people in. We had 7 bidders there as well,
yes.
And a property that you could have bought 5 weeks ago for $400,000. If anybody had offered $400,000 5 weeks ago, the vendor would have gladly accepted it. $447,000. There's a tale of what confidence is in a marketplace.
So I'm going to go out on a limb, Phil, because we need a heading for the episode this week.
Out on a limb?
I think the heading should be "Apartments are hot," Phil, because apartments are hot.
Yep.
Red hot, white hot. And I said this at the start of the auction, Philip, in Power Street. I said to the people, Philip.
The good people.
I said to the good people of Toorak and surrounds, I said to them that, if you've got a job right now.
You've got a job.
And you
tick that box.
Tick the box, got a job. If you've got a deposit.
Tick that box.
Then what have you got? Low interest rates. Very exciting. No return on investment anywhere else, so at least you can rent it out. So if you're an investor or you're a home buyer, this is your opportunity. Step right in.
I remember viewers being told many, many years ago from one of my many mentors that I had chosen to help me with my career.
Yep.
These were sage words from a man with a lot of experience at the time. He said, "Philip, what is the definition of a recession?" And he says because there are two definitions. There is a definition by an economist and there is a definition by a psychologist. And I said, well, this sounds intriguing. He said the definition of a recession via an economist is 2 quarters of negative growth. Okay? That's what the true definition of a recession is.
Okay.
If you ask a psychologist what a recession is, it's just a loss of confidence. And if you think about it, literally 4 weeks ago in Carnegie, people were thinking recession, but really what they were doing is just they lacked the confidence to come out.
And what about a hairdresser? What's their definition of recession, Phil?
I would say that they'd have a good look at your hairline, Gary.
Well, I went and got my hair cut for you, Phil.
Yes,
And
actually, that was your segue. That was your segue.
Sometimes there's no pleasing you, is there? You know, you've criticised me for not getting my hair done. Then I get it done. I get criticised. You know, you can't make some people happy in life. Do you know what the reality is? I only look at you, Gary, when you look scruffy, when you look decent. That's the way I would just assume that you look. So moving on, Gary, a big weekend, made a lot of sales, lots happening. It was good. Good clearances.
Tell us more about what happened on the weekend.
Well, you know, we've moved on from Power Street, we've moved on from the other apartment in Tranmere Avenue, and I think we've got a couple of others to discuss. Hey, Phil, we've got some topics to talk about before we get into the auctions, because a lot of people just tune out when we get in the auction. They just go, white noise, don't care. They want to hear about the juicy stuff. So I want to talk about something a bit different, Phil. It's going to be a bit of a Hey Phil segment here. I want to talk about buyer registration system and process, because in New South Wales, Phil, they've been doing it for years. In New South Wales, you walk in and you say, I might be interested, I might come to the auction. No, that might be, could be, maybe, see you there, don't see you. You have to register, Phil. They lock you in terms of your commitment and your interest, Phil. So that's what they've done over there in New South Wales for years. What do you think about it here in Melbourne? Hey, Phil, what do you reckon?
Look, I like it, Gary. It separates the wheat from the chaff, the proverbial wheat from the chaff, but it just gives an opportunity for us to be able to look and say, okay, well, these 3 people have taken the next level of commitment. It's only a level of commitment because ultimately you can register that you're interested, you can arrive on auction day and absolutely do nothing.
Yeah, so well, that's the other thing,
I think it's pretty minor, it's pretty trivial, but do I like the concept?
Yes, I do. Because a few of our guys like it now, Phil. And I think if you're a vendor, I think you'd like it, wouldn't you?
You would.
I mean, if you're a buyer, do you mind having to register your details?
It's all part of the qualification process. I mean, in an era now of increasing transparency in all commercial transactions, what's to be scared of, particularly as you can register and not even show up. You can register and come, you can register and not do anything, and of course you can register and do something. And what's the difference?
Exactly. You can register for every auction in Melbourne and not turn up to it.
It's like people that say, I mean, take the COVID app. I know that this is, where's
You're on the COVID app, aren't you?
I am.
Do you get much information from there?
No, I don't look to it for information.
Is it wrong to say, could we advertise there? Probably is wrong to say that, isn't it?
But if you think about it, we've had so many people say, I'm not downloading the COVID app because I don't want to give away my privacy, and yet they've got an iPhone where they haven't turned their location services off. They've signed up to probably 50 or 60 apps. The days of the days of privacy are long gone. And the reality is, if you're worried about privacy, it's probably because you're not doing something that you want to be recognised as doing.
I've been caught out with the phone business, you know, there, Phil, because I remember my daughter saying to me, "Oh, have you had a nice afternoon?" "Yes, Dad." "Oh, did you enjoy visiting the TAB an hour ago?" I go, what are you talking about? Did you see me walk in? She goes, "No, but I've got it on your phone. I'm tracking you, Dad, so I know who you are."
She downloaded your phone to find my phone.
She's got me sorted. She's watching me very closely, and that's the young generation. You've got to worry about them because they're watching you.
There is no such thing as privacy anymore. In fact, if you think about now, when you walk down your local suburban street, take your street for example. We won't mention the name of the street, but it is in the vicinity of Yanaki in Caulfield North. But if you were to walk down your street. If you think about how many of your neighbours have got,
I don't think they like being our neighbours.
Have got cameras. No, I'm sure they don't. But just as you walk down your street, you're probably being picked up by various cameras from various houses.
Well, we've had an incident outside our house, and we could check on different cameras, we learnt absolutely nothing.
So wherever you go, it doesn't matter whether you're walking in the city or down a quiet suburban street, you're probably under surveillance by somebody. So just get over it. Don't worry about it.
So I'd like to put this out there, Phil. I'd like to get some viewer feedback. The email address is up there right now. Buyer registrations, good, not good, like it, don't like it, or couldn't care less, let us know your views and we'll share it around next week on next week's GPTV, because next week's episode is going to be an interesting one, Philip, because it's kind of after the long weekend where there's no auctions. Anyway, getting back to...
Having said that, I'm sure that the civil libertarians that are watching this show, and we welcome you, civil libertarians, to watch this show, they would all be saying, listen, you know, you give away your privacy. It's all fine when you're living in a functioning democracy, but should that change the information that is available on you?
Could you be run by gargoyles or aliens or some strange people?
There's a lot in this either way, but I think it's the horse is bolted because it's...
Which horse was that?
It's not one of your horses.
Oh, right. I thought bolted.
The horse is bolted because we've all given away our privacy. It's all too late, so, you know, bad luck.
None of my horses are bolting at the moment, actually. It's quite sad. Anyway, let's move on, Phil.
Any other sales, Gary, that you'd like to mention?
Well, I think we should talk about Oak Crescent, Philip, 2A Oak Crescent, because that was the price is not undisclosed, Philip. It was sold for $1,300,000 and, well, I've got 60, but I think it was 80.
$1,380,000. I was there, Gary. We passed that in an auction. We had 2 people bidding for it. Another couple of people in the crowd had displayed some interest. We passed the property into a lovely gentleman and we negotiated with him. The vendor came down, the bar came up, and that was a successful transaction. Shout out to Joel Sir and young Jacob Kingston, who were involved in that transaction. Yeah,
Jacob Kingston was a very good...
He's popped up a number of times over the weekend.
With me at the auction, Power Street too.
On a steep learning curve, that young man is.
He sure is. 46 Hill Street, Phil, in Bentley East.
Well, a shout out to the Samuel brothers, and a shout out to both our Carnegie office, our Murrumbina office, and our Bentley office, because the level of
going on in Hill Street
that we're showing through that area, but particularly Hill Street, I think over the last 12 months, Gary, we've sold something like 7 or 8 properties in Hill Street.
And we've got boards. If you want to do something bizarre, drive down Hill Street. You're going to see board after board after board after board. And then not only were there for sale boards, there was for lease boards as well. It's like we've just invaded the street and taken it over.
Just for the record, viewers, there's nothing untoward going on in Hill Street. It's not like it's the site of a contaminated,
meth lab or something. Or there's nothing crazy going on there.
That, I think we need to have a solicitor on the show going forward, Gary, to explain the new legislation being brought in by Consumer Affairs about the accountability of vendors and agents.
Talking about the material facts legislation.
Material facts. I think we've got to get
being brought in. It's here, Phil. Well, it's here. Okay. And it's a good talking point. We'll bring it up next week.
Viewers, material facts. Something interesting coming at you, which we will seek to educate you all as we are being educated at the moment. But fascinating changes.
Arrawatta Street, Philip. Another auction sold for $900,000 under competitive circumstances, I understand. Well done to Vivian Lior. That's in Carnegie, Phil. We love it in Carnegie. And if you go into realestate.com and you look at who has sold...
boasting segment here now.
Let's have it. It's a time for a little boast. We don't mind a little boast. If you go into realestate.com and you say what we've sold in Carnegie...
Okay, and so the way to do it is you bring up the homepage, you go to...
You've got to click onto it. You've got to turn on the internet. No, you go turn on the internet. Boost up,
turn on
then turn on your screen, then boost on. I know the whole thing. I'm really with it now, Phil. Anyway, and then you go into realestate.com, click it.
Of realestate.com, go in there, Carnegie, see who's absolutely smacking the market around. That would be our Carnegie team. Well done.
Absolutely. It was just about all but one, I think, is all sold by. So we're rocking in Carnegie. We're loving it and rocking it. We've sold a property in North Road before auction, Philip, but the price is undisclosed.
Shout out to Leon Guzenfisser and his team. Great sale there.
The display price, Philip, the statement of information was 1.4 to 1.54, so it gives you some idea of the price, but that was well sold, and Leon continues to do well in Caulfield South and Bentley, Brighton East in that pocket. And Philip, Glenn Bricker sold a property in Bamborough Road in Caulfield before auction. The range was 8 to 880. We can't say how much it sold for, but it was a lovely unit.
One of the most important things about making sure that you're communicating with the salesperson or taking the salesperson's call when you've been through a property is that during the whole COVID story, a lot of properties were selling prior to auction. And that's going to, I think that probably through 2020, Gary, you're going to see a lot more sold befores than you did probably in the preceding 3 or 4 years.
We sold a lot before auction last weekend,
Absolutely.
Phil, and some very exciting results, some happy buyers and happy sellers alike, Phil. 40 Sebastopol Street is our featured property of the week, Philip. Now, it's not Sebastopol Street in Caulfield North because there's 2, so don't get your Sebastopols mixed up because that can be very difficult.
Sebastopol Street. Street
But
is St
what a
Kilda we're talking
spectacular
about.
looking town residence this is, Philip, in a wonderful location. Luxurious, light-filled, tri-level living. How good is the
I think
location
we've got
there?
to drop this whole townhouse or town
Residence.
residence.
Oh,
It's
well.
a home, Gary.
It's a home.
It's a home. It's a beautiful home. It's a stunning home. Sebastopol Street is beautifully located, walking distance to the train in Balaclava and the wonderful Carlisle Street. Really great position, comes off Inkerman. This is a fabulous property. Check out the architectural detail, the wonder of this property, and then call it yours.
3 bedrooms, Philip, and what I love is this spectacular decking on the roof. You've got this little oasis upstairs, Philip, like the essential luxury
Spectacular decking on the roof.
Yeah,
Are you trying to
beautiful.
say that there's a great rooftop?
Yeah, it's a great
terrace
rooftop
garden?
terrace. That's what I'm saying, Phil. A great rooftop and a spectacular
You know,
urban living at its finest,
lucky
Phil.
you're good with the admin side of the business, Gary, because your sales capacity and your sales ability.
My sales ability's all right, Phil.
Terrible.
Carried you for a long time, my sales
There's
ability.
decking up on the roof.
Yeah, there's the decking on the roof. That's it, decking on the roof.
Okay, move along, Gary. Move along.
That's
Come
it,
on,
that's all I got.
keep this show moving.
That's all I got. Got nothing else to tell you or share with you now. I got my hair cut. You disappointed me in terms of your reaction. But, you know, it doesn't mean that I've lost any love for you, Phil, or for the viewers of GPTV, because they're seeing a new improved version of myself, Philip, and there's nothing wrong with improving yourself all the time.
You know what?
You could take a leaf out of my book, just saying.
I think we should all understand that the journey of self-improvement is a long road that never ever finishes.
Yes, there's no end. There's no light at the end of that tunnel, Phil. It just keeps on going.
Speaking of that, I was reading the Australian Financial Review
me too.
over the
me too.
over the weekend.
Me too, yeah.
And I was inspired. I've always been inspired by Harry Triguboff.
Oh, yeah.
And Harry Triguboff is 87 years of age.
Have you left him in peace? Because you harassed him. You harassed Harry one time, didn't you? He's a Harry harasser. He is.
I did.
Tell us about that.
Bumped into Harry Triguboff at the
Qantas Lounge,
airport
I think it
in
was.
Cairns,
Yeah.
and said, "Hey, Harry,
Excuse me, just a second, Harry.
wanna
Just
have a
wait
chat."
right there, yeah.
Ended up having a long conversation with Harry at the airport. He could not get away because, well, he's an older man,
and you cornered him, and you stepped on his foot, and you had
Correct.
security close the doors around you.
But Harry was in the newspaper. There's some legal action going against Harry by one of his employees, and
really?
I'm just reading the article. And the article is about Harry said this to the employee, and the employee said that. And whether any of it's true or not, I don't care. But the robust nature of the conversation shows that men in their 80s don't necessarily lose their testosterone.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Really? Well, I know Harry's a
article.
passionate and forceful person. Sometimes when you're passionate and forceful and you know what you want and you know what's best, you can get your point across a bit too hard
I
sometimes.
love these men and women in their 80s that are still absolutely actively engaged in whatever their profession or their business is.
Yeah.
And it really does show that retirement is not necessarily something that you have to engage in.
Is that your way of saying you're going to be around for a long time?
I
How are you going to
can't-
be in your 80s, you reckon?
Look, I will be working, firstly. How will I be? I'll be working.
Is that right?
Will I be calmer and more gentle?
Yeah.
Undecided on that.
I mean, your father's such a...
Age will not necessarily weary
your
me.
father's a beautiful man in his 80s. He's a magnificent man in his 80s. He's gentle,
But he was a
he's
magnificent
clever.
man in his 70s,
that's
60s,
true.
50s and
Yeah,
40s.
well, that's right. You got me there. So there's not much you can... Probably that's where it stops, doesn't it, really? The comparison stops. Yeah. Fair enough. Anyway, well, we're going to be probably on the screen till we're in our 80s anyway, because we've got nothing else to do, and goodness knows, plenty of debt.
The reason that we're rambling is that there are no auctions this weekend. A shout out to good Queen Elizabeth, who is having her birthday. Well, we've done this before many times over the years. We're celebrating her birthday, which is not her birthday.
Hasn't she had a hell of a year?
She
had a worse year ever in her life. I mean, she's in her 90s, isn't she? And look she's just rocked along beautifully. I saw some photos of her the other day. She was a very attractive young lady, Queen Elizabeth. I don't know if you've ever seen her in that light, but she was,
I've
you know,
watched all of The Crown.
She was, if I can take a 70s term, and it's nothing inappropriate, she was a spunk. Queen Elizabeth was a spunk, Phil.
Completely inappropriate
no,
to
it's
be
not.
talking about
why?
about the Queen in this matter.
It's okay.
Having
It's
said
nothing
that, we're
disrespectful.
Celebrating
She was
the
lovely.
Queen's birthday.
She's got
weekend,
Prince
so
Andrew.
that-
She's had. Hang on. Was it her husband who crashed the car? Was it her husband?
Yep.
So her husband crashed the car. Her grandson nicked off with his beautiful wife to where was it?
Well, they're living in Los Angeles now.
To Canada.
No, they went to Canada, but they're living in LA.
Her other was it her son that got in trouble? Prince Andrew with the false hand around the girl.
Prince Andrew. Just a little bit of media training, right? A little bit of media training, Prince Andrew. Don't ever do another interview
Yeah,
ever.
It didn't go so well, did it, Phil?
Did you watch that interview?
I did watch it. Yeah, it wasn't good. So
stunning
I think she's cruised along beautifully into her 90s, graciously and whatever. Of course, there's the odd scandal, a different princess, the lady died, whatever, which was terrible. But I don't think she's had her best year, Phil.
Do you know what, Gary? As you well know, I've long been a Republican.
Be careful what you say, Phil.
No.
There's people that are going to be very upset with that. There are lovers of the Queen that are going to be turning this off right now.
I'm just going to finish the show by saying I've long been a Republican.
Yeah.
I think that the monarchy served its time well in this country.
Fair enough.
But we are a mature nation that can stand up for ourselves, and really having our head of state a little old lady in another country with somewhat delinquent children, I'm not sure is appropriate.
Did you used to sing "God Save the Queen" every day at school?
At school,
as
absolutely.
you marched into your classroom.
Absolutely,
I did. Every day I did it,
Yeah.
and I haven't forgotten, Phil. Okay, I've forgotten.
Well,
to
we'll
God Save Our
save
Gracious
your
Queen.
rendition for another episode of
I
GPTV.
will.
Viewers, the market's back. There is no question. Confidence is returning. The open for inspections are there. People are coming. The auctions, they're bidding. Surprisingly strong bidding on so many different properties means that if you are sitting on your couch now thinking about what to do, jump into the market. Give us a call whether you're a buyer or a seller or just want to have a real estate chat. Give us a call. We are waiting for you. Have a fantastic long weekend. Celebrate the Queen's birthday.
Yes.
And we'll see you next week. My name's Philip Kingston.
I'm Gary Peer. Have a great break. We'll see you next time.